Welcome to beautiful Phoenix, Arizona. Anybody who knows anything about me knows that I love small, lightweight sports cars. Cars like the Mazda Miata and Ariel Atom really peg my personal fun meter. That's why in 2015 I was so excited when Polaris came out of nowhere with the Slingshot. It promised an affordable package, an engaging driver dynamics, and some crazy visuals. But then I got behind the wheel of one and I wasn't quite sold. It just didn't quite hang together as a driver's experience for me. Now I'm back here with the 2020 model, which promises a revolution underneath an evolutionary skin. Polaris has come out with its own 4-cylinder engine and an automatic transmission option for people who don't want manuals. I'm gonna hop in and see if I can light a one-tire fire. If you like the way the original Slingshot 3-wheeler looked, you're gonna love this new one. It's very similar, and that means it's still unmistakable. Look closer though, and this 2020 actually has a very different and more modern look, especially up front, where you'll find new LED illumination, including distinctive arrow-shaped daytime running lamps. The fenders cover a little more of the front wheels than before, and the whole thing still looks vaguely Blade Runner-ish. If you want to keep a low profile, do not buy a Slingshot. Despite its familiar insect-like face, just about everything has changed under the skin. The biggest news is an all-new powertrain. Polaris has finally dumped the old and tired GM-sourced 2.4-liter Ecotec that dates all the way back to the Pontiac Solstice. This new Prostar 2-liter is actually Polaris's first 4-cylinder, and it is a huge improvement. Despite being smaller, it generates more power, between 178 and 203 horsepower depending on trim. It's lighter, revs quicker, and has a higher 8,500 RPM redline. The new engine also feels and sounds a hell of a lot better than the old one. The latter is particularly important because with no roof, you're going to be hearing a lot of it. In top trim, the new Slingshot hits 60 in 4.9, and because you sit so low and exposed, it feels even quicker. I still recommend the 5-speed manual, but for the first time, you can now get an automatic transmission. Well, more precisely, you can get an automated manual. The latter doesn't have a torque converter to smooth out shifts, so the feel is similar to the transmission in a Smart 4.2, which is to say, rough and ready. This 2-pedal option should open up the Slingshot to a much wider group of buyers, but it's hard to love. It doesn't let you take advantage of the Prostar's newfound revability, and shifts are often clumsy. Polaris understandably couldn't go with the traditional Autobox because of weight and packaging concerns, but at the very least, this new gearbox cries out for paddle shifters stat. Officials hint that they may be on the way soon. I drove this new 2020 back-to-back with the outgoing model, and it's hard to overstate just how much better this new one drives. Everything feels more connected and more visceral, especially the steering. The new Slingshot's rack is much quicker than before. It's now 2.5 turns lock to lock, a full twirl less than before. Suspension kinematics have been completely overhauled too. Not only is ride quality noticeably better, you can now pull over a G in corners, and you might even want to try because the brakes are a ton better too. They're more powerful and more easily modulated. The Slingshot is no longer completely out of its element on the track. In fact, it can actually be good fun. One area that needed a ton of attention, the cabin. The old Slingshot felt cheap inside, partially because Polaris needed to keep it weatherproof, and partially because they needed to keep it lightweight and low cost. The new interior is massively improved, most noticeably the steering wheel, seat materials, and a revised center console that finally has room for your phone. You don't even have to chicken wing your arm to get a drink out of the cup holder anymore. To be frank, this still isn't the same material quality as you'd expect in a normal car, but remember, this isn't a car, it's an autocycle. Simply put, this Slingshot is way better and way more fun than before. Whether you're a canyon carver, a highway warrior, or just one of those dudes who cruises city streets peacocking with those look-at-me wheels, lights, and stereo, well, you're gonna notice meaningful improvements just about everywhere you look. Oh, and even if you've never driven one of these things before, even if you don't have a motorcycle endorsement, now that 48 states have an autocycle classification, all you need is a regular driver's license. Just be sure to wear a helmet, okay, Chief? In a nutshell, that is the 2020 Polaris Slingshot. It still looks crazy, but it's better to live with, better to drive, and it's actually more accessible with the automatic transmission to a lot more drivers. Now, I've still got a little bit of time, so let's get out there and have a little more fun.